creative expression as a pathway to healing and resilience. We are honoured to have James Martin as our host today. The seminars ahead will cover a range of topics from building positive mindsets, art therapy, youth wellbeing, to cross-cultural engagement and community safety.
We will now acknowledge the traditional custodians on the land on which we meet and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Now, let's begin our first seminar session of the day. The first presentation is from Dr. Adam Lo on the building positive mindset and resilience.
Dr. Adam Lo is an accomplished occupational therapist and senior mental health clinician specialising in disaster mental health recovery. He has served as Australia's delegate to the World Federation of Occupational Therapists and is currently second alternate delegate. He has also contributed regionally as Secretary of the Asia Pacific Occupational Therapy Network.
Dr. Adam Lo brings extensive experience to the mental health, occupational therapy and disaster recovery. He will share insights on fostering resilience and positive mindsets within individuals and communities. Please join us in welcoming Dr. Adam Lo.
Thank you, Alex and Izzy. It's wonderful to be here today as part of Mental Health Week. So Queensland Mental Health Week, still got a few more days until Sunday. This year, I'm very much excited to be working with MeHA, Dr. Michelle Lee, on promoting mental health. As an occupational therapist that worked in mental health for about 25 years, it's a big passion of mine, particularly combining the creative arts with mental health. And that's why you see a lot of arts-focused materials around the room today. And later on this afternoon, we'll have performances from young people as well, singing and dancing. So welcome everybody. And as the first person to speak, I'll open up with talking about mental health, particularly how maybe it's a big topic. So it would be generally about what mental health is, what might mental illness look like, and just some general ideas about how we develop resilience, because it is all about developing resilience. What we're doing today and what you've been a part of today is to help promote the mental health message, promoting that mental health literacy and promoting awareness around mental health. So I've got a colleague here today with me from the disaster recovery team, Stephanie, Outreach Field. So she's an art therapist, and not only that, she's a very accomplished ceramic artist herself, so it's fantastic to see her. So that big mural artwork, that's just a picture of the most recent mural that she designed at Logan Hospital. So you can see the real mural at Logan Hospital, but today you get to see the artwork that's just been completed within the last couple of weeks, really. It's brand new. So yeah, wonderful. Thank you to the team again. So good to work as part of Positive Mindset Festival together this year with MeHA and the team. So now I'll jump straight into the presentation. Actually, thank you. Oh, I've got a clicker. Thank you, Andy. So I also like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we're gathering on today, the Yagara and Jagera people, and pay my respects to elders past and present, and those who are of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander heritage here today with us. I also like to acknowledge lived experience, those who are impacted by mental health issues, substance use disorders, and suicide. Oh, thank you. Oh, Andy, you got it all covered. Thank you. Because I like to move around. And contributions made by family, friends, carers, and service providers towards their recovery. So what I will be, about 15 minutes, I'll be talking about mental health, how we develop resiliency, and just some content details. So really, mental health. When we talk about mental health, it's really a continuum. So we're not always going to be 100%. When people say, oh, you read all these books about how to, achieve perfection, how to be happy. Well, yeah, they're good to give you some ideas. But first and foremost, we're never going to be 100% happy and 100% positive all the time. If you want to achieve that, you're probably going to be depressed because of that. So the first thing is to understand that we do move along this continuum in terms of our mental well-being, which is similar to our physical well-being. We're not always going to be 100% fit. But what we can do is we can do things. There are things that we can do to help us to move towards kind of healthier side. Things that we can do for ourselves or utilising supports out there that can help us achieve better physical health and mental health. So we're going to move along the continuum. Some days you feel a bit better, other days things might not go as well and you are kind of down towards this side a little bit. But when things do get really bad for a long time and ongoingly, and you can't pick yourself back up, that's usually when mental illness occurs. Of course, what we're trying to do is try to prevent things from getting to this side, to the mental illness side. But even when it does happen, because we're all vulnerable to developing mental illness, from time to time, and we can get better. The thing is to know that even if we do develop mental illness, or if your friends and families, develop mental illness, and the common ones are depression, anxiety, which I'll talk quickly about later, we can get better. There are ways to get better as well, where we can move back along this continuum. I mentioned this before. Health is both our body and our mind. You've probably heard of that before, and I probably have I know we've got some Chinese medicine specialists here who will know all of this from an Eastern perspective, philosophy, but that's similarly, it is all about our health. It's not just physical, but mental as well. So you can see, for people to perform at their peak, even for a sports person, they not only have to be very fit physically, but if they're not fit mentally as well, they won't be achieving their potential. So that's why it's important that mental health and physical health are just as important. Sometimes people just focus on their physical health and not worry about their mental health. But nowadays, I think people are getting better and better at looking after their mental health because there's more awareness and more literacy around it. But we definitely want to instill that in our young people. So what happens is, as I said earlier, if you're going to be on that end of the spectrum for quite a long time, in the red spectrum, where things are not going well for you and you're not coping, you're not dealing with it, you may be starting to experience a mental illness. And simply speaking, usually a mental illness happens when something causes major changes to someone's way of thinking, feeling, and behaviour. And it starts to impair their functioning, whether at school or at work, whatever that they do normally is being impaired. Relationships, and the other thing is persistent. Because sometimes it can happen, we go through a period where things are not going well, and we're feeling pretty bad. Doesn't mean you have mental illness. It means you're going through a tough period of time. But what happens is, if this feeling, like difficult feeling or anxious feelings, are persistent over time, then there is potentially a mental illness that's happening, and you should get some support, or you should help your friends and families to get support if you realise that they might be experiencing a mental illness. Because mental illness, if left untreated, can cause other additional problems. So people can turn to alcohol and drugs as a way of self-medicating. People can start to have poor eating habits and dieting. They can either gain weight or lose weight. They start to neglect themselves. They start to avoid exercise and activities which will have an impact on their physical health as well. On their psychological health, people will start to not think as clearly. They can't make decisions as well as they used to. They're not as motivated, and they start to withdraw from their activities. They start having sick days from school or work, and just not able to carry on with the usual roles that they have. So they can withdraw socially. They don't want to hang out with their friends anymore. Their mood starts to be disturbed. They have a lot of false negative thoughts about themselves, so poor self-esteem and a poor sense of self. And on social life as well, you can see that people start withdrawing from their friends and family, or just depending on their family as the only source of social support. And particularly for young teenagers, we will see that it affects them in many ways. Their education, their employment, relationships, even finances, impulsive buying, or excessive use of online gaming and things like that. Physical health would also, particularly around the sleep. Young people and adults will start developing sleep issues, and that will impact on their general health and mental health as well. So some of the common types of mental illnesses. The thing is, we now know that mental illnesses are pretty common, but once again, there's a spectrum. So when we think of mental illness, people tend to think of the most severe end of mental illness, where people need to be hospitalized and can't function in the community. But most of the time, there's a spectrum of people experiencing mild depression or moderate depression to severe depression, or anxiety as well, substance use disorder, or eating disorder. So these are some of the most common mental health issues that we can see in people. And the good thing is there's a lot of treatment out there that can support, and not always involving medication either. Medication is never the first line of treatment for us, particularly in child and youth mental health, where I worked for more than 20 years. We try to avoid giving medication if we don't need to, but sometimes we do. But it is always in complement of psychological therapy as well, and other types of support and therapy, like using the arts, using other activities that are purposeful. Come in, welcome, take a seat.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Just so you know, it's prevailing. Every year, 2 in 10 Australians will experience a mental illness. 45% of Australians may experience mental illness at some point in their lifetime. Almost 1 in 2 people would have experienced mental illness in their lifetime. So it is very common, in a sense. So it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to get help. I realise time, so I'm going to quickly move on. But the statistics is clear. It's much more common than you think. So there's no need to be. I think the biggest hurdle for people to seek help is think that they can't get better, or they have stigma around it. Sometimes even imposing it upon themselves. That I'm not crazy. I don't need to go and see mental health clinicians or even my GP. But having mental health problems doesn't mean you're crazy. Like I said, people. I've worked with young people who would go and see a counsellor or therapist just to go through almost like a life coaching, but from a mental health background, because we all need that sometime. In working as a mental health professional, we receive ongoing supervision, and I provide ongoing supervision for other clinicians as well, because we need to look after our own mental health. It's almost like it's like a mental health session for ourselves. So the take-home message is, how do we develop resilience? Well, this is a picture from the Positive Mindset Creative Arts Festival that I've been running for. We just had our 11th festival on Wednesday, and Michelle was there, and as part of it as well with MeHA. And really, we're about creating. So I know playing sport is a good one, but for me, that's where I did my PhD in, which is about the use of creative arts to promote mental health. And there's a lot of evidence to say that arts can promote mental health. Connecting with people, having a chat, so conversation about mental well-being, or even just chatting to someone that you trust, and understanding that, not being controlling, but understanding that you can't control everything, and focus on things that you have control over. And know that sometimes you are going to be angry, sometimes you're going to be upset, and it's okay. It's about how you manage those feelings. Whether you kick the dog, or you talk to someone, or go walk the dog, rather than kick the dog when you're angry and upset. And I always tell this to young people, you don't have to be positive all the time. It's perfectly okay to have all those feelings, different feelings. It just makes us human. And we can get better. And obviously there's a whole bunch of different things that we can do to develop resilience. Firstly is understanding more about mental health. So the mental health literacy, even just what I'm talking about today, and hopefully give you a bit of an idea about, yes, I do need to focus and think about my mental health and where I can get help if I need to. Healthy coping strategies, and it's different for everybody. Some people like to do art, some people like to go for a run, some people like to listen to music, and it's finding what works for you when you're feeling down and you need to pick yourself up. Physical activity is always good as well. Social connection, that's a big one. I think people tend to become depressed and upset when they don't have good friends or network around them. Probably don't have time to talk about bullying and cyberbullying, but those are other issues that young people face, and we need to help them to overcome it and find their tribe, friends that they feel comfortable with. And then sometimes you need to get appropriate professional support, and it could be a variety of those. Sometimes just starting with the GP and then go from there. So really, if everything that I talked about in the last 15 minutes just went over your head, just remember these points. Seeking appropriate help when you need it. Help seeking is actually a skill in itself, and people who need help the most tend not to go for help. So it's really important that we need to help to identify people around us who might need help so that we can encourage them to get help as well. Obviously taking time out and have good rest. Good diet and healthy food helps as well. Exercising, socializing, and gently challenge yourself. Do something different from time to time. It's okay to challenge yourself, and it's okay to make mistakes, not know everything. Be yourself. Ask for help. Have bad days. Start over. Say no, and it's okay not to be okay. So that's kind of my message. There's a whole bunch of other online websites, Beyond Blue, Headspace. They're all very good places that you can go to. And there's different techniques that different people use to calm themselves as well. So yes, I think that's my 15-minute presentation, and I don't want to take the time for the next presenter. So thank you very much. I'm happy to have a chat with you during the breaks. Just come and say hello, or send me an email if you have any questions about anything that I talked about today. So thank you very much.